this is a crazy idea. I'm going to be experimenting with what we can and can't do. And I wasn't going to do this, and I'm hoping it's not going to take forever and we're not going to get bogged down in technical things. But I have a massive desire to just ask Richard to just go through and highlight everyone and unmute them, and just for you to say hello and where you are in the world. So we actually feel like you're there, that you're not, it's not just like you're a participant in this, and just, just give us a line, anything you want to say, one line, where you are, and a hello, and then we can feel like we've actually connected with you. So do you want to organise that, Richard, and just let that?
Yeah.
So I'm Tim. Hello, I'm in Glastonbury in the UK.
Okay.
Glad to be here.
I'm Richard, and I'm from the Isle of Man, but I'm currently in London, which is a bit bigger than the Isle of Man. What I'll do is I'll spotlight people's videos, okay? And when I spotlight you, that will automatically unmute you. When I spotlight the next person, you will still be unmuted. So if you think on, remute yourself, and it will just keep the background noise down. So here we go. We'll start with Anne and Phil.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. We're from Padiham in Lancashire in UK. Lovely to see you.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all.
Okay, and now Valerie Jackson.
Hello, I'm Val, and I'm from Macclesfield, and I haven't done anything like this for years, but I want to, looking forward to getting more up to date. Okay, thanks everybody, welcome.
Vicky.
Hi there, I'm Vicky. I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and it is wonderful to see you again, Tim, and other faces that I know. So happy to be here.
Debbie.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Glastonbury, not far from Tim.
Chuck and Charlie.
I'm Chuck. We're in Hanover, Germany, and this is Charlie. Say.
Okay, yes, I'm Charlie. I am German and Chuck is American. And now we live in Germany.
Robin A.
Hi, I'm Robin. I'm in beautiful Devon in bemused Britain.
Lars.
Hi, I'm Lars. I'm calling from Sweden.
Judith.
Hi, I'm Judith from Orange, California. I'm happy to be here. I will have to leave early because I have a birthday party I'm doing in a little bit here. But I'm going to stick with you as long as I can.
Leonard.
Hi, I'm in Lisbon, Portugal at the moment.
Mike.
I'm Mike. Greetings from Colorado. Rachel sends her regrets that she couldn't join us.
Guy.
Hi there, I'm Guy from Marquette, Manitoba in Canada.
George.
Oh, hi, I'm George. I'm speaking from Knutsford in Cheshire.
So you're doing something like this, you just all say hello right now.
Okay.
Melanie.
I'm Melanie. I'm from Carshalton, Surrey, sort of south of London.
I can't tell if it's mute or unmute.
Rob and Casey. Cassie.
I'm Rob, this is Cassie, and we're in Devon in southwest England.
Justin.
Hi folks, mine's Justin, I'm from Bidford and Avon in Warwickshire in England.
Marianne.
Hi everyone, I'm in Norway.
John.
Howdy, folks. I'm John. I'm from San Antonio, Texas.
Hi, everyone. Hi, that's okay. I'm Virginie. I'm originally from France, but I live in New York, Manhattan.
Celia.
Hi, nice to see everybody. I'm in Pawtucket, which is in Rhode Island, which is a state in the United States.
Kelly.
Hi, I'm Telly. I'm from Cambridge,
And Tim, I'm so pleased to be here because I have been following your work for years. Thank you.
Douglas.
Hi, I'm Doug. I'm from Lowell, Indiana in the U.S.
Luann.
Hi, I'm Luann. I'm from Texas. I'm in Virginia, but part of me is always in Glastonbury. So glad to be here.
Caroline.
Hi, I'm Caroline, and I'm in Birmingham, which is pretty close to the centre of England.
Centre of the universe. Robin.
Hello, I'm Robin. I'm currently out west of Seattle in the US, and it's great to be with you all.
Hello, Gary and Ellen. Good to see you.
I'm Gary, and we are currently looking out on the bay in Galway, Ireland.
Ooh.
We don't live here.
And I'm Ellen. We're from the States, but we live in Spain. We live in Oviedo, Asturias, along the north coast of Spain. Glad to see you.
Hello, I'm Barbara. I'm in Southeast Devon in the UK.
Nice.
Hey everybody, I'm Denise. I'm from Fairfield, Iowa in the US. Great to see you all. I love you.
Barnaby.
Hello, I'm Barn, and I'm about 10 miles from Glastonbury in the UK, and I'm loving the technology and seeing people all around the world. Amazing, amazing.
Ian.
Hi, I'm Ian. I've got trouble with the sound. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm down in Kent at the moment. Nice to see everybody.
Paul.
Hello, everyone. I'm from Massachusetts. I'm glad to be here.
Great. Aurora, can't see you.
Well, I would like to change that, but I don't know how to.
That's okay.
I live in Northern California, but I'm originally from Mexico, and I've been following your work for a long time. So it's great to be able to be here with you.
Jessica.
Hi everyone. So I'm Tim's PA, and I know I've spoken to a lot of you, so it's nice to meet you all and put a face to a name. This is exciting, isn't it? Can't wait. And I'm sorry for any of the hiccups with times, but hopefully we'll get that sorted out.
Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm from Halsall in England. Glad to be here.
Kate.
Hello, I'm from Shropshire in England, and I'm just gobsmacked by this technology. I've been using it for a long time, but I still think it's amazing to be listening to and seeing people in Texas and all over the world. It's brilliant. Hello.
Hello. Okay, Miss Kelly.
Oh, hi, I'm Christine, and I live in Bedfordshire in England.
Okay. Greg. Sorry, Greg, you're muted. I can't unmute you. I'll come back to you, okay? Come back to Greg. Calper.
Hey guys, Calper, and I'm in London, UK.
Grace. Grace.
Oh, hi. I am from Australia, but living in Liverpool, UK. Hello, everyone. Good evening or good morning.
Okay. I am looking through. Okay, could I invite anyone who hasn't spoken to?
You're going to go back to somebody?
I was going to go back to Greg, but I can't.
He can't get back to me for some reason.
I think Greg is unmuted now.
Greg,
Yes.
sorry, there are two Gregs, and it's
yes.
Oh,
I'll spotlight you, Greg.
We have.
Go ahead.
Okay, hi. I'm Greg in Hardy, Virginia. And this is my friend Hector.
Wonderful. I think that was everyone, wasn't it? Or as close as we can get. It's going to be.
I do apologise if I missed anyone.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased we did that. That was great. So if you've got any mics on, maybe now's a good time to mute them. Maybe you can mute everyone apart from me.
Yeah, I'll mute everyone, then unmute you, Tim.
Okay, let's do that. There we go.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Hello, my friends. Welcome. This that was such a great way to begin, to actually see, you know, that when I stuck, you know, there's a part of me that felt like I only added the word international at the front of international community of individuals so that it did spell ICU, or it did become an acronym. But it turns out that it was the right thing to do. We are truly an international gathering. And the ICU is also a great name for us, because that's what I wanted to start off with, that we could actually see who we are. So we're recording this tonight, partly so that we can share it with people who couldn't be here, which there's quite a few, but also because I hope it will be a little bit of history that we're making. I'm sure it'll be a bit ad hoc tonight and for the first few times, and the whole way through I see it as something creative, but as is evidenced from what we've just heard with all these different places that we are, what links us together, alas, is not geography. If it was, wouldn't it be great? Because we could all meet up every weekend and inspire each other and support each other and push each other's ideas and see each other. But the fact is that for some interesting reason, we're spread out and literally everywhere. And the people who've been touched by this are of all shapes and all sizes and all nationalities. So what's changed for me is a desire to bring us together and to articulate clearly what this thing is that I've been developing, and which you have all been touched by in some way, either through being at an event and a retreat, experiencing the deep awake state with me, or through books or videos or connection, is to say, okay, look, we need to give this a name and an identity. And the reason for that is that then things exist, things which are formed and have a particularity. And because I'm very expansive, and because this, you know, and because I'm also really not wanting things to become remotely cultish or anything like that, I've always held back from that. Oh, the world's got enough isms, you know, it's like the last thing you need. But the fact is, if you do that, it's how things take shape. And taking shape is the only way something can come in and actually affect the world. And my own perception is that we desperately need a new, a transformative, new understanding of what reality is. And I think it's coming. I'm an optimist, so there's something about the deep awake state which makes me profoundly optimistic, even in the face of all of the things that there are to be unoptimistic about. And my feeling is it is coming. And, you know, when I gave my TED talk recently, which will be online, edited up soon, and obviously I'll send that out to everyone. And I ended it with this kind of bold claim, really, which once I articulated it, felt completely right, which was that idea that there is a new understanding of the way that we perceive and experience reality that's coming. It's not here. This isn't it, but this is moving towards it. And that when it comes, I think it will be as big a bigger shift for human culture as the rising of science was 400 years ago. And in my mind, I was imagining what it would be like to be someone 400 years ago and see this, to see us now connecting across the world on the internet and on a computer, and just unthinkable for those first people that thought in a new way, that grew up through a culture which said the world was a certain way, and then went, I don't think it is, and just woke up. They woke up out of their conditioning. They tasted a bigger mystery, and they were willing to see things in a new way, and they changed everything. And here we are 400 years later, whatever it is, you know, whenever you want to put that time, but, you know, here we are not that long later. And, you know, we can do this, and we've been to the moon, and we can, you know, look at everything. Unthinkable. And my feeling is that that's what's coming again. Of course it is. Of course it is. It hasn't ended. And there's a tendency to think of the future as just more of the past. So what's going to be? It'll be faster internet, or, you know, or more technology. And that will, of course, happen. But the big shift won't be that. The big shift will be something which people aren't looking at. And my own hunch is that the big shift is an understanding not of how to do things and how things work, but what this is. A much deeper question. A reevaluation of what this is we are in. And in particular, a returning to some very ancient ideas, such as the idea of the soul, of the immortality of the soul, of life having a story, being dreamlike, ideas which we seemed forced to leave behind by science. But I think what is going to happen is we will come back to those ideas in a new way, and importantly, in a rational way. And one of the things I say in Soul Story is that I think what's happened is that science has come along and freed us from irrational religion, which we've grown out of. But then we've got stuck in this kind of very soulless vision, reductionist vision of what reality is. But what it's done is it's cleared the way. It's cleared away irrational religion, pre-rational, let me say, religion, replaced it with rational science, but it's cleared the way now for a rational spirituality. And that's very much what I see us gathering to do. And when I say rational, I don't mean just heady and all of that stuff that people often feel uncomfortable around the word. I just mean a good reason. Things that are done for a good reason. And things are done for a good reason if you question them. If you question them and they have a good reason, you can follow it. If you question them and you think that's not a good reason, then you let it go. So it's about engaging that quality of being able to ask deep questions and come up with deep answers. So where that's taken me is wanting to bring together this, the philosophy and practices that I've been exploring with many of you in person, and hope I'll get the chance with other of you that I haven't done it in person with, and given a name. And the name I've chosen is Unividualism, as you probably all know by now, hence the idea of the ICU, the International Community of Unividuals. And that came really from the idea of unividuating, which is in Soul Story, and the idea that came from that of a unividual. And I really fell in love with that new term. As you know, I like new terms only because I think they help us think in new ways. When there isn't a term, you need, make one up, and if it's good, it'll stick, and if it's not, it'll just die and you move on. But unividuals, I've been touring the States, I've mentioned unividuals a lot, and I've been I really like the response. There's obviously a handful of people who are going to go, no, I don't like this weird word, new word. But an awful lot of people have gone, oh, thank you, I'll use that. That's great. And of course I've gone, yes, please do. Because what it captures is this new type of human being that's arising. And you wouldn't be here if that didn't apply to you. Which is an individual who is profoundly conscious of unity. Now, I think that is happening anyway. It's not just the handful of people that are involved are here. This is a widespread phenomena in ways we don't even notice. And the example that you may have heard me use in the videos I've done recently, in which I've been sharing in America, is there has been an historically unprecedented expansion of compassion. We live in a world where everyone thinks everything's going wrong. And the fact is, most things have never been so good. Now, there's also a lot of things which are going wrong and which are disastrous, and a lot of suffering and things which are horrendous. And it's definitely not just getting better. Like there's glitches and there's things which go badly. And right now we seem to be in a bit of a wobbly phase for sure, and so on. But taking a longer historical perspective, you can see one of the things, you can see lots of things, but one of the things I want to focus on right now is the massive expansion of compassion. In which people care about other human beings in completely other parts of the world. And that's just never happened before. People didn't know about those human beings, of course, but also if they did know, they wouldn't have cared. They hated their neighbors. Most human beings have lived in a culture where they've been at war with their neighbors. And we now live in a culture where a huge number of people care that people are starving in another country, or there's a war, or there's injustice, or sections of the population just because they're women or they're gay or oppressed. We care. Why? Why? Why should we care? And I think in any other culture that would have been, well, there is no reason to. But what's happened is that we have changed. And this is a huge jump. And it needs a name. And not just with human beings, but with nature. I mean, we take it for granted. But most human beings, have seen nature as something to eat and to avoid being eaten by. And yet we care. So, when you hear that the polar bears are dying, or the tigers, these are animals which, if you were face to face with them, they would rip you to shreds without a moment's hesitation. But we care. We don't want them to, our ancestors have done their best to get rid of them, and we now want to save them. And with good reason. I'm really proud of us. Interspecies compassion. Wow, that's a new thing. So we're changing. And then behind all of that, smaller, but significant, because I've seen it in my own lifetime, there is a growth of people who've either had the profound experience or have the profound intuition, or both, that really the universe is all one. And that although we're all individuals, we are also ultimately all the same thing. That we're meeting here as separate expressions of one essence. There's one of us. And that's, of course, the great mystical insight which has fascinated me and I've written all my books on. And that feeling of oneness issues into this compassion, into this love, into this universal big love. So something's happening. And what the word unividual does is it takes it away from just the idea of awakening in a spiritual context, which is fine. I've got nothing against that. But I think we want something bigger. We want something we want a new form of spirituality. And one of the aspects of it needs to be bigger than just waking up, which has that connotation of getting away from this. Waking up from the illusion of Maya, waking up from the illusion of self, waking up from your ego, all of those things. What Unividual does is it says, no, let's think about that differently now. Let's think about that you don't wake up from it, you're waking up as it. You're waking up into it. And that you're not getting away from your individuality, because the individuality isn't the problem. In fact, your individuality is the foundation from which you become a unividual. So the way to become a unividual is to become more of an individual. Really go for being an individual. Don't get rid of your individuality. Celebrate it. Really make yourself you. Be completely you-ness, because there's no one else like you. Like, the great line, of course, from Wilde, be yourself, everyone else is taken. It's like, yeah, do right. And we're all different, and we're all a bit strange, and we're all mixed and good bits and bad. That's the way we are. So this is a way of approaching awakening, which goes, let's not have a spirituality which is anti-life, anti the senses, anti the body, anti-pleasure, anti-women, anti-everything that makes us human, anti-emotion, anti-attachments, anti-enough. Let's keep the essence, which is the reality of waking up to oneness, which is this enormous love. And as you know, if you get into the deep awake state, is life transforming. But let's see that as happening through the individual. So what we have here is a new idea of what spirituality is, which is growing. It's obviously not just me saying this, it's growing. And we have something which is about us. It's about it reaching in. It's about something collective. So we've just been through this incredible age of individualism, which is why we're so individual. Fantastic, isn't it? I mean, you look back at the old films and it blows me away, because I look at old films of, I don't know, a football match or people going to work in the UK, all those black and white films, and everyone's wearing the same clothes. completely. You know, it's like, and it's all like everyone knows who they are because you can tell. Oh, he's wearing that hat. He's got a cloth cap on. He's, you know, he's worker. Great. Oh, he's got a bowler hat on. Oh, he's middle class. Oh, he's got a top hat on. Oh, he's, you know, ruling class. That's, everyone's got their place and they're all going to wear their thing. That's all gone completely, hasn't it? All of it's gone. We've individuated to such an extent. Hurrah. We're thinking for ourselves. And that's all of a process of this thing where we all come in through a culture. That's true of every one of us and everyone throughout history. We grow up in a culture, and part of what happens then is our soul takes on all the ideas around us. And that becomes the ideas we have to think with. Whatever they happen to be, whatever you're told, your parents, your school, your culture, the books you read, that's it. Now, some people, and all of you will be this, otherwise you wouldn't be here, actually carry on that process, because the next step in that process is questioning that. And if you're lucky enough to profoundly wake up to the mystery, to have an awakening experience, what happened to me when I was 12, you find yourself, you're out, and suddenly you just see, oh my God, that's all historically arbitrary. The whole thing. I think all my beliefs, everything I think reality is just a set of historical ideas that happen to be because of when I was born. And at that moment, you can start a process of going, okay, so what of that do I believe for a good reason? What is a good reason? And what is reality really? And a univigil is somebody who's done that, who has started that process, who's come in, and the individuation happens through that too. Which is the foundation. Why we're much more individuals now is because people are willing to think for themselves. Not much. I'm very critical. I have to, I am, because it drives me nuts that there's so little of that awakening, but it's much more than it was. And if we can carry that on, then this other thing can open up. So what I wanted to do was say, okay, here's an aspiration. Here is what I think there is a new human being arising, which is a univigil. The philosophy which I've been articulating is an attempt to explain and support that. To go, look, we're in an evolutionary process, and here's a way we can understand it. Here's the way that I can understand it in the most elegant way, the simplest, least cluttered way of getting what this is. And then there's also, but it's not just about, understanding. There's also then, how can we change how we experience this? And that's the deep weight practices, which I've been exploring with you. And there's those you can do on your own. And let me just tell you, because you probably don't know this, but for those of you that are interested, I've just recorded my first ever CD with the Hemisync people of the individual and the connection exercises through listening and through looking. And they're available now. I don't think they're very much. You can get them from, probably best to get it from them. But there's, check it out. And the Hemisync. There'll be something on the newsletter if it hasn't come out yet. Because then you can actually see and use these things. And the Hemisync is this great technology which messes with your brain and does interesting stuff and gets you into a nice space. So what I'm saying is, look, there's these techniques, and the fundamental technique is connection. And what I want to get across with us, and then what I want to enlist, what I want the ICU to be, is something where we can support each other, but also where we can actually take this out and go, look, there's something interesting here. Because the techniques, these deep awake techniques, like the ideas, are essentially really simple and elegant. They're about seeing what you are. I'm going to do that in a minute. And then they're seeing each other. They're actually looking through. And we're doing it all the time. You can do it now where you see me or when you listen to me. If you've done this with me before, you can look and listen on one level where it's like, oh, there's Tim, he's talking his ideas. And then you can reach through and get, oh my God, there's Tim. There's Tim. There's this guy who's nearly 60 years old, almost very soon. And he's been on this journey of life, and he's all battered and bruised, and there's bits of him which are really, this and that. Of course there are. And, and he's been touched by something which has obviously moved him and set him off on this mad course. You can have a sense of the soul that's here. And just, connecting with that other journey. And then that will put you in touch with your journey, that you're like that. And then right back, you can go, whoa, there's the whole universe arising as Tim there, meeting the whole universe arising as you. What's that like? And that's something which is so simple and so elegant and yet incredibly powerful. Whether you're doing it through listening or looking or anything, just that simple thing. And on the philosophy side as well, fundamentally, I think what I've articulated, and there's much more to come, guys. I mean, every time I'm working on it, it's getting clearer and clearer. And by that, I mean, I think I can say it quicker and more directly. But I think the essential idea is so simple. The essential idea which underlies everything I want to share with individualism is, what is this that we're in? This is the realization of potentiality. That's what it is, on ever more emergent levels. Then there's a huge amount to say about what that means, and maybe we'll do a bit of that later, or maybe that'll be next time. But just essentially, let me just say that for now. This is and look, just look in front of you. Just look at your experience. It is doing it right now. It is constantly realizing a new potentiality. Constantly. Every moment builds on the past and realizes something that has never, ever, ever happened before. Because that's what this is. What's happened now is we understand, that's not a trivial thing. That's the nature of existence, because it's been going on for 13.8 billion years. And it's moved in that time from hydrogen into all of us. That's incredible. That's what it's been doing. And it's reached us. And then it's reached us experiencing soul, experiencing psyche, the imagination, and thinking these amazing ideas. That's, that's it. That's the vision. And then filling it out with all of the stuff which can help us understand all of the questions, the deep questions. What is the soul? Could it possibly exist after death? Is that something significant? I think it is. Why is it that life seems so magical sometimes? Why can it be so matter of fact, and then other times just so magic, like a dream? That's a reality. Why is that a reality? And many other questions. Does it have a purpose? Yes. Well, the purpose I've already said. Look, this is the realization on ever more emergent levels. So that's the purpose. The purpose is not something that life has. It's something that life is. Life is the realization of potentiality on ever more emergent levels. So what should we do? Well, we should realize our potentiality on ever more emergent levels. And why have I gathered you all together for this meeting of the ICU, to launch this new thing? Because I want us to realize potentiality on more emergent levels. And I think of course we can only do it together. So, there's loads more that I want to share with you, because I just want to share everything because it's our first meeting. I'm not going to do that. Here's what I'm going to suggest we do now, my friends. By the magic of technology, I'm going to ask Richard to send everyone off into a breakout room, and you'll find yourself completely at random. The universe itself will select for you 3 other people. Probably 3, depends on the numbers. You might be with 2, but we'll try and work that out. Or Richard might do a 5, we'll see. But you'll find yourself with 4 people, roughly. And what I'd like you to do, and I think we'll give each other a bit of time with this. We're at, it's 8 minutes past now. So we'll give you up to 15 minutes. And I will still be here. So when you're done, you can just come back into the main room. And if you get stuck, one group got stuck when I did this once, we'll come and rescue you, don't worry. And in that 10 to 15 minutes, I would just like you to say hello to each other, to share what it is that's brought you to the meeting tonight, and to give of your soul, to give of who you are, and you can do that one after each other. You can do that in a conversation, work it out between you, but make sure everyone speaks. So make sure everyone gets the chance to say who they are, and make a small connection, a little bit deeper, with a few of the individuals that I hear. I'm aware that the time is going to shoot past, has already shot past, and this is very much a beginning meeting, the beginning of something, and just a way of us connecting. And it felt like the most important thing for tonight. This is an open meeting. It's not just for ICU members. Many people have joined. Some maybe just trying it out. What I wanted to do with this time, above all else, was just put across the very simple essence of what this is about, and to enable us to feel like you weren't all just connecting with me, that actually we were here together. And so we've done a bit of that. And there is one more thing I'd like to do with that to end up with, which will take a bit of time because of the size of the group. Many of you have done this with me before. Well, we've just brought up everyone's photo and we've connected with that person. And what I love about that is it astonishes me how I can feel so connected with you, but I'm just sitting in my office on my own. And yet I'm not. And what you get there is this real sense that whilst my body is here locally, we are connected on this non-local level of soul and our deeper being, which has no locality at all. So it's very good to experience that. And I'd like to make enough time, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but so I'm not going to talk tonight for as long as I probably will other nights. I'm just going to try and again give you some flavor as to where I see this potentially going. So I would like to see the ICU connect in this way once a month. That's the plan at the moment. If enough people sign up and we can make it happen, I'm up for it trying to be a couple of times a month, so that if you can't make one, you might make another. I'm aware that there is a practical side to what we're doing, which we've just done a bit of tonight, which is connecting, hear each other's voices, feeling like we're not alone, that we're part of something. And then there's a philosophical side, and I would like to make room for some real conversation with that. And people can send me in things they'd like me to address, questions, and I'll interact with you take somebody individually and really go into a question with them, or maybe a couple of people as well. Now, I'm aware that in one session it's hard to do all of that. It's all next to impossible. So we may eventually get to the point where we could say, all right, well, once a month we'll meet up and it will be community and connection, and there's lots of meditative experiences and contemplative experiences we can do online together, which is great. We can actually do that so that we can have a transformative experience. And then the other one, we can go, right, let's have a more philosophical experience. Let's actually go for the understanding side. And some people might want one more than the other, and that's absolutely fine. So that's where I see it going. And then there's this meeting up side. For not everyone can do this for practical and financial reasons. I understand that. But in an ideal world, in my mind, I've changed this idea of a spiritual retreat, like the Deep Awakening was, into a unividual gathering where we can come together and do all these things in the flesh. And everyone who's done that with me, you know what that's like. It's a powerful, powerful experience. And the difference is that the thing which was missing before was that we had this big experience together, and then it was like, oh, well, bye, and that's it. And I think now, if this had been in existence for the last 10 years, there would probably be 1,000 of us on tonight. I'm not sure if that'd be practical, but it would be fun. Because after the retreats, there's so much enthusiasm to continue the journey, but I wasn't able to provide that and didn't have the energy or time. But I'm ready now to do that, to make this a thing, to make this something which you can be, hey, Tally, they're good for you. I love that. To be something which you can feel connected to. So look out for that if you can make it. We're just about to announce the dates for England. We've got one in Japan in a couple of weeks, which I'm preparing to fly out to Japan. We've got one in America in June in the Omega Institute. And then we've got one in England in July. So those are the 3 ICU gatherings that we've already got planned. And that will be open to people. That's not just ICU members. That will be open to everyone. But it's also a chance to gather people who are touched by this. So the other practical thing I wanted to say to you is I think it's very important to learn for me and for everyone that's involved with what we do. So I'd really love it if you could give me some feedback after our this meeting, and hopefully you'll come to the next one, which is another free meeting in April. And then after that, it's going to be ICU members only, so that we get to know who we are. And you can feedback to me. You can send me an email. The best place would be if you're an ICU member, you'll have been invited to join the ICU Facebook community. And if you're able to do that, the best place would be to leave a comment on that, so that people who couldn't be here can see your comments, how it felt, what was good, what could be better, everything, anything you feel. Just hello. It'd be really good to hear from you. If you're not an ICU member, you won't have access to that community because that's only for members. But you could use my Tim Freak forum. That would be good. You could put something on there. Again, it will be of interest to other people. We'll post this as well, so you could add it to this when this comes out, or email me through the website. But let me know, because that really helps. Places we're going to go. Being a individual, it's like what I want us to see that this is not just about. It is about understanding, because understanding changes how you experience existence. It isn't something abstract. It's the most concrete thing. The reason it seems abstract is because we don't know we have a philosophy. Most people don't know. One little thing which I did recently was fascinating. I was in the States and I spent some time with two of the leading neuroscientists in the world, one of whom is probably up for a Nobel Prize. They're incredibly smart people. And the gentleman in particular was elderly, had achieved an immense amount, and could talk with great eloquence about neuroscience, but had no idea he had a philosophy. Absolutely none. It was astonishing to me. He just thought he was seeing the way the world is. He didn't see that he had a particular lens he was looking it through, which made it almost impossible to really have a conversation about anything, because, if I get the chance another time, I'll take you through it, because it's fascinating how we are. Now that is, when we talk about the unawake state, that is it. The unawake state is not a rude thing. It's not a lesser thing. It's just simply in a set of ideas that you don't know are a set of ideas. And then when you know they are, you're always in the mystery as well. You're always in that paralogical place of being, there's your ideas, and also, which allows you the freedom to come in and out and to grow and to change and to see that this is the best lens I've got so far, and all of that. So it's a practical thing, understanding. And as well, there's these things we can do, like lots of meditative practices I would love to get the chance to explore on an ongoing basis, so this becomes practical. And then there's how we live our lives, which is what this is really about, or the end product of what this is really about. What a individual does, how a individual relates to others. And this is all new stuff for all of us. And really, we're all trying our best, and it's hard. But to really focus on that, to actually have chance to share with each other what we think how this changes how we are in the world if we take it seriously. So that's no longer like it's not, what I abhor is this spiritual narcissism, which seems to be everywhere, where spirituality is about, what can I get from this? What can this do for me? How can I add this to my lifestyle choices? And okay, but that's not what I'm interested in, and that's not what this is. And that's why right from the start, and the very first time I talked about the ICU, I tried to say to everyone, this is not something you can buy. This is something which you want to contribute to. Because, and I'll speak more about this as the ICU comes into form, I want to be completely transparent what this is. That's one of the ways we'll evolve it being remotely cult-like. Two things it's going to be: that transparency and me being authentic, so that there's no bullshit can arise. That's one of the things we can do to be individual, is actually be authentic with each other. And what does it mean to live as an individual? And so it's not about a narcissistic thing where it's like, okay, thank you very much. How much? Thank you. I'll have that, please, and add it to my lifestyle. No. If you've got this, or even if you aspire to get this, which is more like the truth for me, I aspire to get this, then then it's about what you can give. That's what the love is, and that's what you get. So the way I see the ICU is, there's a small handful of us here, and that's fine by me. I would like to reach out to as many people as possible, and I'd love to look back on this in a few years' time and go, do you remember, guys, that first meeting when we could look at everyone's face? Wasn't that great? I'd love that, because if we can, that would mean that this had gone out and touched a lot of people. But the fact is, I want the right people, not the more people. I want the people who genuinely feel touched by this. Here's something, though. I don't expect everyone to agree with me, because you wouldn't be an individual if you were that. And you can't be a unividual unless you're an individual. I expect you to be you, but there needs to be enough resonance and enough desire to really get this unividualist perspective that we hold it together. So there's a certain, and then a desire to contribute to that. And what the contribution can be financial, like to join up, but also I'm going to talk at other events about what you can do to help take this forward, what you can volunteer for, and also how you can share it yourself. So the ICU is a genuine attempt to gather together people. This is not a Patreon scheme. This is and will continue to, in the spirit of authenticity, it is and it will continue to be probably something which Debbie and I finance, because I'm nuts enough to feel like I must do this, and she loves me enough and is nuts enough to say yes, do it. And so, it's not any of those things. It is, look, if you sense that we are waking up to oneness together, and if you want to be part of this articulation of it, let's work out between us, because I don't know. Let's work out between us how we can do that. And this is the very first step, which is like, hello, who's shown up? Now, there'll be lots of other steps to take the ideas deeper so we can really get what they are, to take the experience deeper, to see what experiences do and don't work in this medium. And then probably an invitation to go, do you want to be part of a smaller group still that actually gets together and discusses what could we do next? So that even a group that I may not need to be part of, because I'm off doing other things. I see that happening as well. So there'll be self-selecting groups where, and that as this forms over the next 6 months, then all of that will come into place as well. We've already got an identity. I just want to put a shout out to Barnaby, who's with us, who created those fabulous images of all the people forming shapes and forming hearts for the individuals, and the world forming the world. I hope you've seen those. So we've got images. They're great, and we can share those with each other. It's beginning to take a shape. But there's how we think. There's how we connect, and then there's how we live and what we do. And I think there's a political dimension to this as well. I mean, this sounds nuts, but I think of course there is. How could there not be? And I think that's an area which I want to be able to find a way of opening up thinking about. Because what strikes me underneath all of that is, look, we're the underlying narrative, and I'm only going to touch on this for a second now. But the underlying narrative underneath the emergent philosophy, the evolutionary philosophy I've shared, is the same one that was in the Gnostic myths that I wrote about 20 years ago. It's the journey from an state of unconscious oneness through conscious individuality to conscious oneness, which is both individual and collective. That's the journey. The same one that they understood in a mythic form, we can now understand in a scientific form. And that means that where we're heading to is this unividual state of being individuals who are consciously one, which is an experience of love. Now, what the hell does that mean for how we live together? A whole lot, I suspect, because we've been stuck in a view of politics for the last 100 years, which has seen it as a fight between those that thought it was all about the individual and those who thought it was all about the collective, which generally gets reduced to left and right for arbitrary reasons. But that's been one of the fundamental debates. No, for the individual, that's the way. No, we're losing the collective. Let's build up the collective. Let's care about each other. And the problem with the collective thing is it suppressed the individual. So the individual stuff doesn't have this recognition that there's something beyond the individual. And the collective stuff wants to get rid of the individual and just be collective, both of which are disastrous or limited. And yet here's this other possibility, which is both spiritual, individual, political, personal, interactive, how we connect, which goes, it's both of those. So we individuate to unividuate. So I think this is potentially a whole new thing in the world. And each one of us will have a particular role to play in that, depending on who we are. I'm doing this bit because this seems to be mine. And my hope is that I can gather together other people who will discover in the process, oh, I can do this, which may be a small thing locally, or how you do things online, or it may be more. And it may change and grow as time goes on. So that's how I see the potential of what we're doing developing. If you have any questions, again, on the same comments thing is a good way to connect and do that. I would like to end this now with enough time to do this meditation exercise. And then we'll pick up next month. Like I said, as things get going, once we've done the free ones, we might have more. Whatever we want to make happen. And I will play my role in getting it going, and then we'll see. All right, well, we'll connect briefly. I'll say a few words at the end, but what I want to do right now is this. I'm going to invite you all to get yourself comfy for a second. And I'm going to start by leading a little meditation. And then once at a certain point, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. We'll have our eyes closed. I'm going to open your eyes, and I'm going to ask Richard. It's going to be brief, Richard, not as long as previously, just briefly, to bring up everyone's face. If Richard misses you, please forgive him, because he's just never done it with this number of people, because we might do. But hopefully we'll get everyone's face. Some people haven't got cameras. We won't be able to do. We'll just bring up their names if we can. And I'm not going to speak this time. We're just going to bring them up, and I'll tell you how we're going to connect. And then when we're all done, we'll come back into a group together. So just close your eyes for a moment. And I want you just to explore with me, if you would, your individuality and your universal nature, the two aspects that make up your individuality. And what I'm going to lead here is what I think of as a contemplation exercise. So whereas with meditation, it's about where we put our attention, with this, it's also about how we think about things. So this is a contemplation exercise, this one. So a combination of the two. So I'd like you just to focus, first of all, on the body. Just explore who we are. Just feel the discreteness of your body, your skin. As the great Alan Watts said, we are skin bags. That's what we are as bodies. Feel that skin, and inside it, all the organs. And feel your breath. In particular, feel your breath, the way that you're bringing in and out of the body air. And I invite you to be conscious of yourself as a specific place, somewhere totally unique to you. Your body is where you are. It's where you call here. And that you are sensing the world from that place. You are listening. If your eyes were open, you'd be looking. You're sensing the world from a center, a very definite place, which makes you, you as a body. And then with our understanding, I'd like you to contemplate something, which is very expanding. I'd like you to just be contemplate the obvious thought that although you are discrete in the world, the physical world, the world of nature, you're also not. That without the air, you would not be breathing. And without the rest of nature, you would not eat. Without the sun, there would be no plants. And that although you exist as a discrete body, there is also the fact that you are completely enmeshed in the ecology of existence. You are part of something huge, part of all of the life on this planet and all of the physicality that supports that in the universe. And be conscious that your body is both individual and that you have a universal physical identity, which is the physical universe. You are the physical universe. The very elements in your body were formed in stars billions of years ago. That's your nature. And then sinking into your soul, the psyche, the imagination. Again, conscious of your individuality and how precious that is. That right now, you are thinking your thoughts. Only yours. And that you have your imagination, your memories, your hopes. That you are conscious of your story that makes up your soul. Really appreciate how important that is. And then also be conscious that you're part of what the ancients called the anima mundi, the world soul. The soul of everything, all soul. And that the very words with which you think come from a culture which is tens of thousands of years old. And the images that you see have been shaped by the world in which we all live. And that although your thoughts are individual, they exist within something which is universal. That soul also exists as something discrete, an individual, and something universal of which you are a part. So that you are intimately connected with all soul. which is why we can commune as souls and touch each other. And then finally sinking back into the depths of your being, that formless presence of the I, your knowledge that you are. And sense there that although you are experiencing the individuality of your I, that formless presence of being has no boundaries. And that your I, your being, is one with all being. That behind all of this individuality, there's a universal ocean of being where there's one of us. And I'd like to invite you to open your eyes, and I'm going to ask Richard to bring up an image of each one of us, and I invite you to just reach through the image and connect soul to soul, being to being, to reach through and see that there's the body or an image of the body, but what you're connecting with is something beyond, something you can't see, but you know is there because you are it. And to connect in love across, well, around our planet, actually, and just see how that feels. Let's go.
Okay, Tim, over to you. That's everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Richard, for doing all of that. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and being part of this. I hope you'll be able to come next month. I can't reiterate enough how much I want to hear from you so we can learn and grow. And this is an open door to contribute. So, connect. And the Facebook forum for the ICU members is the ideal place for that, because you're going to be just talking to other people who are already small group, who want to hear. I see you. I love you. Thank you. We're pretty good. We're on time, pretty much.
Mute everyone's microphone whenever you're
yeah.
ready.
Let's unmute all the microphones, and we can have a little bit of cacophony to end up with.
See you.
Lots of love.
See you. I love you.
Thank you, everyone. I love you. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Germany.
Bye-bye,
everyone.
Hi, Justin. Wherever you are, I don't see you. Are you there?